Hi, so I'm reading from Beyond Stammering. This is Dave McGuire's book about the McGuire Program. I think this came out quite a while ago now, showing my age, but I was in the McGuire Program from 2007 through to about 2015 or thereabouts, and this book was published in 2002. Man, it's getting on, isn't it? 23 years ago. So what I'm going to be doing on this channel is I'm going to be reading something on here, because this book's really good if you haven't done the program. It's really good to read this book, get an overview. I'm not too sure I'd read the book before I did the course. I think I'd just go and do the course, because then you're going in without any preconceived ideas. That would be my opinion. Am I going to say that you should do the course? Well, if you chose to do the course, that's how I would do the course. I just go in blind, and then you're like a little bit of putty, and you can be molded into whatever shape that the instructors and coaches believe that you should be molded into, and they're in the best position to see it. If you don't want to do the course, because it is quite expensive, there are alternative courses. Some are very, very similar from what I understand. Or you could just read this book. So I'm going to read this book, and then I'm going to come up with a point, and then I'm going to answer the point, and that'll appear on the screen with edits. So I'm not editing out a stutter. What you're going to see, if I have a stutter, you're going to see it. So he talks in here about having goals and objectives. I think everybody's goal and obvious objective is the same, but I could be wrong, so I'm only going to speak for me. The goal and objective is to say whatever I want to say, whenever I want to say it, however I want to say it. Simple. Sounds simple. At least it's clear and it's simple and it's understanding for me. So I can compare against my goal. So I'm either speaking fluently and I'm not holding back, I'm not substituting words or anything like that. I'm saying exactly what I thought to say, and that's it. It's all good. I may say the wrong thing, as in it may be inappropriate, or it may not be the best phrase thing that I can say at any one particular time, but I haven't avoided saying it, and I'm still me. I'm still Rob. I'm still the person who can put his foot in his mouth. But that to me is the ultimate goal and objective. So it says here, there are several objectives, and of course I used to be a regional director, but of course it's been a long time ago, 2015 when I got out, so it's 10 years, got an excuse. And sometimes having a look at this through fresh eyes, you're going to see things differently as well. And I am going to use a little bit of exaggerated technique from time to time, because that's the whole thing. Practice inside your comfort zone and exaggerate it, so that when you go out in the real world and you're applying it, you're in the best position to do so. Now, having a look at the objectives down here, it's got physically. The objective is to speak powerfully from the thorax by retraining your costal diaphragm. Well, for me, the objective is to speak from the chest. Speak from the chest, and that way you've got a very simple focus point for your breathing, for your speech, and you're basically cutting your head off. So you're just doing all the work down in the chest. You're even forgetting that you've got a lip, tongue, throat, everything from here up. Speaking from here down. And coincidentally, a former New Zealand Prime Minister, Jenny Shipley, she actually sat next to me once on a plane. Just thought about this when I was flying back from a McGuire program that I had organised, a course in Auckland, would be maybe 2013. And we got into a conversation. She said to me that one of the biggest advantages that she had in politics, particularly being a woman, is that her dad had a friend who was a speech coach. And he said, from a pretty young age, speak from here down, not here up. And the whole purpose of that is that if you speak from here up, even my voice can get a little bit thinner, a little bit more high-pitched, and kind of tense around the articulators. Whereas if you're focusing down in the chest, then you'll see that there's a little bit more resonance, a little bit more bass coming on, and the articulators just kind of go along for the ride, and I get a lazy tongue, which I'm quite happy about because it means no tension. Now, mentally, it said that there are 6 objectives: to understand the dynamics of stammering. I was going to say stuttering, stammering. Interchangeable terms. If I say stammer, I don't think I will, but if I do, then I mean stutter. If I say stutter, I mean stammer. Same thing. Do I think you need to understand the dynamics of stammering? No. Personally, no, I don't. One of the other objectives is to counteract the tendency to hold back and use avoidance mechanisms. So that's holding back and avoiding, he means. Is that a good thing? Yeah, it's just kind of like a checklist. You don't want to hold back and you don't want to avoid. Do not avoid. DNA. I was going to get that tattooed on my hand one day. DNA. But I'm a bit of a wimp when it comes to permanency and whether or not I'd have a tattoo 1 minute and the next minute I'd get buyer's remorse. So these are only my opinions. Dave knows best, his course, but what I found on the course is that you take what works for you, you take what feels right, disregard the rest, and most of the time that's going to be okay, but there's some things that you probably shouldn't disregard, and that's why I'm suggesting go do a course if that's what you want to do before you read the book. Because some of the things that you may opt out of may be the things that you really need to opt into. So it says to deal with fear through concentration and non-avoidance techniques. Well, already talked about the non-avoidance. I agree. Don't want to avoid. See a speaking situation, go into it. If you don't, you can never really know whether that was your fear that popped in. And fear through concentration kind of comes down to a few simple things about clarity, about establishing eye contact. So today I was talking to someone and I was just demonstrating the technique, and I'm looking at this lens right there as if that's the black part of the eye, the pupil. And I'm just looking at that because then when I look at it, I can really focus. And as I was explaining it to her, the person disappears and all I see is this black dot, and I'm talking to the black dot, and it gives me real good clarity. Sounds crazy, I know. Try it. Don't knock it till you tried it. So what's another one here? To accept yourself as a recovering stammerer. Now this is interesting because recovering and recovery, that's gone right out of the course. Nobody talks about that. Well, the last time I was in the course, they didn't talk about it. I don't know whether it's changed. To accept yourself as a recovering stammerer until you've proven yourself a fluent speaker with occasional reminders of your past affliction. And basically what that means is that you're not cured, you're not likely to be cured, but you will have really good control. That's usually how it works. But I think if someone was super disciplined, I'd like to think that they could be cured, and I'd like to bring on that super discipline, because not only does it help your speech, but it helps every other aspect of your life, your business, being productive, getting ahead in life, everything like that. What else have we got here? To develop an assertive attitude to attack your remaining feared situations. Yeah, well, that kind of comes from confidence and seeing some successes, but also comes from just willing yourself into it. We'll get more onto these later, but I'm just going through here to understand the process of relapse and how to counteract it. Now, that was one thing that I used to completely avoid. And I used to think, well, I'm just going to focus on winning, focus on winning, focus on winning. But sometimes you get distracted and you're really working hard, and then something comes up, could be a personal a tragedy, trauma, work, tiredness, whatever it is, gets in the way, you forget your technique, speaking on confidence for a while, everything's fine, and then one day it's not. And then you kind of let it slide, you don't do what you should be doing to get back on the horse, and you let yourself a little slide. I've done this, and you really need to have a strategy for, well, when life gets in the way and you fall off the horse, how am I going to get back on the horse? And how am I going to prove to myself that I can get back on the horse? So that's basically what I feel he's talking about there. Emotionally is an emotional objective. Once you've dealt with the fear, the objective is to let go and have some fun speaking. Absolutely. Excuse me. Now, I was going to edit that out, but I'm not going to edit that out, because that's what happens when you start coastal breathing. You start yawning. I'm surprised I've only yawned once so far, because usually I can yawn quite a lot. And every time we used to do support group and people used to come in and start coastal breathing, which means that you take a deeper than normal breath, you got more air in, more air out, more air in, more air out, and it means that your oxygen levels change and it can bring on yawning. But it doesn't last. Thank goodness. And the last objective here, spiritually, the objective is self-actualization. Self-actualization. Notice that? I didn't get that quite out of how I want, so I'm going to prove to myself that I can do it. Go back, say it again. Once your verbal self is set free, who will be doing the talking? Are you the person you want to be? This positive internal change, beliefs, intentions, perceptions, etc., is necessary to hold on to your fluency. And to me, it basically means that you become the person that would speak well. So you take on a kind of persona of, hi, I'm Rob, and prior to self-actualization, you could be a little bit fearful, could come through in your posture, how you talk, how you avoid situations, whatever. But then you become the person that you know, no, I've got this, I know how to employ the technique, I know how to establish and maintain eye contact and lock myself in, stay focused, stay disciplined, stay in technique, not get rushed too much, etc., etc., etc. I can take on that persona of a fluent speaker as much as beforehand I used to take on the persona of a person who stutters or stutterer. And by the way, I use those terms interchangeably. I don't see the word stutterer or stutter as negative. It's just a word. It's just a describer. But some people prefer person who stutters. So anytime I use those, it'll be interchangeable. Those are the goals, but basically, what's the goal for me? The goal is now for me to do some videos to share everything that I've learned, share some of my opinions, just what I think, and mostly to become self-actualized and give myself that confidence again, which I've lost because I wasn't practicing. And so when you don't practice, you slide down the slope. Everyone wants to climb the mountain of fluency, but that mountain is icy. So if you keep on walking, you'll get up there, okay? But the moment you stop, you start sliding back down. That's how I used to explain it. That's all for tonight. Want to keep these videos reasonably short and manageable. Hope you got something out of it. There's going to be heaps of videos. You're going to get heaps of my ideas, but it's also good practice for me. So until next time, as we say, bye for now.